What is going on, everyone? This is Zach, and last week we got news of a release date for the next DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the Indigo Disk. Now, we have heard this is going to focus a lot on double battles, so I'm super excited to see it. I am going to stream it once it goes live. But today I wanted to talk about some of the new mons coming in, our mons returning. We do have some new mons with Terrapagos, and Archaludon. Raging Bolt and Iron Crown I'm really not going to talk about because we don't know any of their stats and we don't know their ability or their signature move or anything like that. So I will talk about Archaludon. That's really going to be the only new mon I'm talking about, but we have a bunch of returning Pokemon. We don't have a lot of information on the variety, but we do know that a lot of the starters are going to be back. So today I wanted to talk about some like team comps that could be possible with the Pokemon returning. Now, this is all just, just starting out speculation, just a little bit of theory crafting to get the ball rolling and to get the gears turning. So hopefully that helped you out or spiked your interest in a Pokemon. But if you guys enjoyed this, do not forget to like and subscribe and let me know in the comments down below, what do you plan on trying when the Indigo Disc comes out? This is definitely where I'm going to start. I'm going to look at some of these mons, and the one that interests me the most is Archaludon. Now here I have Duraludon because Archaludon isn't on Showdown yet, obviously, but we know that Duraludon gets access to Body Press, and we know that Archaludon is going to have Stamina over Stalwart. It could still have Stalwart, but we know that it is going to have Stamina, which every time the Pokemon gets hit, it gets a defense boost. So I thought that was really interesting, especially with Body Press. With Duraludon back in Sword and Shield, you used to Dynamax and do Max Steel Spike to get defense boost, and then after Dynamax was over, you would have a +3 Body Press to work off of, and you really don't need this anymore, so to speak. You can go just with the Body Press, and a little strategy that you might know with Justified Pokemon or Annihilate, for example, with Rage Fist, you can go Beat Up. Beat Up hits one time for every Pokemon that you have in your party. So in VGC, it will hit 4 times. So you can click Beat Up on your own Duraludon and get to +4 automatically. And with the Assault Vest, it is going to have really good defenses and an okay HP stat. Usually its special defense is really weak, but with the Assault Vest, that kind of clears it up. It has that Electro Ball move, Electro Bolt or whatever, which is basically like a Solar Beam but electric type, and you get a special defense, a special attack boost. So it's like the combination of Solar Beam and Meteor Beam, but if the rain is up, you can get it to go in 1 turn instead of the 2-turn charge. So Politoed is here to activate the rain, and so you have a little bit of a rain mode here, possibly with Basculegion or Ludicolo, whichever one you want to go with. And then the rain also helps with the steel typing to help deal with fire type attacks. And I thought Terra Flying would be good for the steel types, for the fighting type moves that you might come across. So the Flying Terra might be good. You might just want to go pure steel or switch it to fairy to deal with the fairy type attacks that might come from dragon. But you're going to take, with Steel Dragon, you're going to take fairy neutral. It's still a big deal against Fluttermane, but with Flash Cannon, the electric move, and tack on another move here, a coverage move, maybe a Draco Meteor if you really wanted to, maybe a Dragon Pulse. This could be a really good and easy setup mon. So if your opponent's not prepared for it, like, you could set up really quick and start doing really big damage with Body Press. Now, right now, I have Whimsicott for the Beat Up the Tailwind. You can also do like Moonblast and Protect, or Moonblast and Taunt, or Taunt and Protect if you want no moves on Whimsicott other than Beat Up. And then the Clefairy with the Friend Guard could help Duraludon stick around on the field even longer. And honestly, looking at this team and the setup capability of Duraludon, You could also have the option of getting rid of Clefairy for something a little more aggressive in the play, and then you can also add a Gothitelle and have Parasong on the Politoed. So you can have a Parasong team with a little bit of setup, with a little bit of hyper offense rain. I do think this could be something that you can play around with, especially if you switch Clefairy for something a little bulkier, maybe a Flutter Mane, and then have like the Ludicolo instead. Because the Flutter Mane can switch out being a ghost type. So if you're facing a mirror, like Flutter Mane can at least switch out. Flutter Mane can switch in on fake outs and all that good stuff. So we'll have to see. The Shadow Tag ability, of course, with Gothitelle. So I think like this as like a Perish Trap team could actually be decently good. So you have like different options of like leads. You can either go for the setup, you can go for the rain, or like you can have like a Perish endgame. Next up, this is really like a combination of like one core, and that is going to be the Fire Water Grass core. Now, we know that Incineroar is going to be back, and in the early, Series B, or Regulation B, Regulation C, Palafin and Arcanine were really good, but now with Incineroar, you get access to Parting Shot and Fake Out, which is something that Arcanine did not have. So you get that Intimidate, you get the Parting Shot to keep the boost, keep the stat drops going, and then Fake Out to gain momentum. You have Amoonguss with Regenerator that loves switching in and out. With Incineroar here to pivot in Sleep Cycles, to pivot in Regenerator, to pivot in Intimidates. And then, of course, like the Palafin wants to pivot out at least once to activate Zero to Hero. Now, this could be like, oh, Palafin's coming back. But in most cases, we're probably going to see Urshifu Rapid Strike. So Urshifu Rapid Strike really does well with the Intimidate. It really does well with the grassy terrain or the redirection if you want it. The reason why Rillaboom could be an option here is because Rillaboom has a little bit more offense than Amoonguss. So you kind of forfeit sleep for like another Fake Out. So you would have 2 Fake Out Mons here, and then you would be able to pivot them in and out all loosey-goosey with U-Turn on Rillaboom and Parting Shot on Incineroar. You could always, if you're going to be an Incineroar hater, you could just stick with the Hisuian Arcanine. It's been winning a bunch of regionals, so you really can't frown upon it. You still get that fire typing, you get Stab, Rock Slide, you get that Intimidate, so you could sacrifice a Fake Out if you're going Rillaboom and go with the Hisuian Arcanine and get a little bit more momentum, but a combination of these 6 Mons with the Fire Water Grass core is going to be really good, and you're probably going to see it pretty common. I think Amoonguss is starting to make a comeback. Next up is the Shell Smash Blastoids. So redirection for this Blastoids is really good here, which is why I think Sinistra could be good. So you get access to Rage Powder, you get access to Trick Room, you got the Matcha Gotcha to fish for some burns, and then you can just go Strength Sap as well. Trick Room in this case would be a counter if you're running Shell Smash. And so the only thing I can't think of right now is what Terra would work best for Blastoids. I don't know if just going straight into the water would be really good here, but you have Fake Out and Intimidate and Parting Shot from Incineroar, and then you can also do the Iron Hands, so you can have Fake Out. And I think on this one right here, you'd probably go Volt Switch, just so you can get the Incineroar in and out, and the Sinistra in and out to keep the Blastoids healthy, to bring in Redirection, to bring in Fake Out. I think this could be really good. If you don't want to run Ice Beam, you could also run Flash Cannon. I believe Blastoise gets Flash Cannon, but Scald is really good here because you can fish for the burn. So you have 2 chances to get burns between Matcha Gotcha and Scald. Flash Cannon is really for those ground types like Landers, for example, and those grass types that want to come in on Blastoise. So you could go Ice Beam, you could go Flash Cannon to help deal with Flutter Mane, but I think this Shell Smash here is going to be really good. Blastoise is a really bulky Mon, So as long as you don't get intimidated, you could be really good here. And even then, you could also tack on a wheezing with neutralizing gas. That way if Intimidate Mons want to try to burn your white herb, they can't do that. So you can get a Shell Smash off, and then you can either switch in Sinistra or Incineroar, all that stuff, and then bring back the abilities. The only thing is Blastoide's ability really doesn't benefit it. Like Torrent gives it that power, but you don't want it to get to that low health that quick, which is why you have the white herb. And yeah, so it appreciates the +2 in speed. +2 in speed, +2 in special attack, +2 in attack, something like that. And then it loses it goes down 2 defense and 2 special defense. So you're gonna want to make sure that you get the white herb off, because if you don't get the white herb off, you're in trouble there. So I want to say like Wheezing and like probably like the Roaring Moon. That way you have a lead here, or you could go Blastoids and start to set up the Blastoids with the Wheezing, and then you can switch in Sinistra or Iron Hands or Incineroar, and that could be pretty decent. The only bad thing is, if you want to switch out the Roaring Moon, like if you lead the Roaring Moon, for example, you give up the Photosynthesis boost that you would get from like a Booster Energy Roaring Moon, which is super common. But I do think this could work. You get the Fire, Water, Grass Core here, and then you get like the Roaring Moon Wheezing, which has been pretty successful, and then the Iron Hands for additional Fake Out and pivoting. Next up is Unburdened Sceptile. So Unburdened Sceptile here with the Psychic Seeds can get a special defense boost and double its speed. So at base 150, like you're hitting 300. And if you really wanted to, you could try to tone it down and get to that 155. That way you're outspeeding Booster Energy Bundles, you're outspeeding Booster Energy Flutter Mains. Booster Energy Bundle would be the only thing. And here, this would kind of be like its own Roaring Moon, where you would go Terraflying Acrobatics, because Acrobatics will be doubled powered once Psychic Seeds is gone. Of course, this is slower than Roaring Moon. This is weaker on the attacking side than Roaring Moon, but it is something that could catch people off guard. Leaf Blade can do big damage and has a high crit chance. And then I thought Rock Tomb would be good here for like speed control if you wanted to switch something in. So of course you want the Indeedee to come in to activate the Psychic Seeds. And so you could have the Armorogue Indeedee here to have that Trick Room option here. If you don't want to go the Sceptile, you can have Psy Spam with Armorogue Indeedee. Of course, Expanding Force, all that jazz. Or you could bring out the Choice Scarf Indeedee Male to do a whole lot of damage very quickly with something like Shadow Ball or Psychic or Dazzling Gleam, and then you can trick the Choice Scarf if you really needed to, and this will activate Sceptile as well. So if you didn't want to go Psy Spam, you could go something a little hyper offensy with the Psychic Surge and the Unburden. And I also thought like a Urshifu would work well with these combinations here. But yeah, that's I love Sceptile. I want to try it at least once. So I was sitting here thinking like, what can I do with Sceptile? Next up is Venusaur Sun Team. So this is something that we should all be familiar with from Sword and Shield here. The Venusaur, Chlorophyll, Sleep Powder, Sludge Bomb, Energy Ball, you can go Giga Drain if you really wanted to, and Protect. So basically you can come in with the Tornadus, you can set Sunny Day, activate Chlorophyll, and start getting some Sleep Powders off. With the Wide Lens, it becomes a little bit more accurate, so you're gambling a little bit less. And what would be really good for Venusaur? What would be really good for a Sun Team? Well, Chi-Yu Fluttermane, obviously. So having these 4 is a really good start to a Sun team. You could have the Trick Room option with like Lilligant and Torkoal or something like that, but I mean, come on. You want to use the Venusaur, right? Right? I really didn't talk about Terras. I haven't used a Chi-Yu Fluttermane team in a while. I haven't used a Sun team in a while, but this is definitely something with my shiny Venusaur from Sword and Shield, something I want to try out. And you could set up, unfortunately, even with the chlorophyll, you're still not going to be hitting that fast. Like speed creep has been really bad. This is still going to have problems with Terraflying Landorus, so that is going to be a little tricky, especially those Choice Scarf ones. But that's where you have Protect and you have Tailwind, you know? Next up, I was thinking of something like Trick Room. Once again, going back to that catalog of teams from Sword and Shield, we have Rhyperior. Now, of course, it could be the weakness policy if you want to pair with Dusclops. That could be an option as well, to throw a weakness policy on that and bring in Dusclops with Brick Break or something to activate the weakness policy. So I feel like that could be really good. You can also have Terra Grass, so you can deal with the Rapid Strike Urshifu a little easier. And other ground types as well that want to switch in, or flying types as well that want to switch in. So that's why we kind of tacked on the Thunder Punch and the Ice Punch here. And then you just have like Rock Slide, Stomping Tantrum. Not too many, like other than Landorus, like not too many Flying Mons want to be in Trick Room. So Earthquake is kind of So Stomping Tantrum is the move here, or High Horsepower. In all honesty, I don't know if it has high horsepower anymore, but I think I checked. And I believe it does have Stomping Tantrum. Okay, yeah, so it does have access to Stomping Tantrum and Sword and Shield, so it should also have Stomping Tantrum in Scarlet and Violet. For this team, you could obviously go Dusclops if you really wanted to. You could also go Farigiraf. I faced Farigiraf, Helping Hand Farigiraf, next to a Choice Scarf Urshifu, and it did so much damage. Choice Scarf, Terra Dark, Wicked Blow, Sucker Punch, Close Combat, U-Turn, all that stuff like that. So if they bring like a bounce team to help deal with Trick Room, you could just leave the Urshifu and just start taking big knockouts with Helping Hand, Wicked Blows. Incineroar, Fake Out is always good for setting up Trick Room. Iron Hands as well, a little bit of bulk. And the Thunder Punch or Wild Charge would help with the incoming water type attacks that you might see. And then there's Alolan Executor. I think Alolan Executor could be decent as a Trick Room setter. You have the Grass and Dragon type. You could Terra Fairy against opposing fairies and stuff like that. Trick Room, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Protect. The one thing that's really good about Alolan Executor is the Harvest ability, where if the last item used is a berry, there is a 50% chance to restore it at the end of each turn, 100% in Sun. So if they bring in the Torkoal, you could Terra Fairy and get your berry back over and over again. So the Citrus Berry would be really good here to get over and over again, especially with the Giga Drain recovery. Or if you really wanted to, you could go Leech Seed. But I think having damaging moves, especially ones that will help out Rhyperior like Giga Drain, would be really good. So just a quick Trick Room idea. The next one, a lot of these are going to focus on the starters because that's mostly what we have revealed so far. And I was thinking of how can we do something with Feraligatr. Feraligatr actually has a really good ability in Sheer Force, which means that it gets a boost but it removes the secondary effects. So you get the Life Orb boost, but you don't lose HP. So that's really good, which means you can get super powerful attacks with that Sheer Force, with that Life Orb, and there's no drawbacks. There's no health loss there. So Waterfall damage is really good. You give up the flinch for a boost in damage. Ice Punch, you give up the freeze for a boost in damage. And then Dragon Dance will help it set up. So if they want to protect, you can get a Dragon Dance off. It doesn't have the best speed, so getting a Dragon Dance off could be really helpful here for the Feraligatr. And to help get the Dragon Dance off, I was thinking about coverage, and the first thing that came to mind was Friend Guard Clefairy, which has access to Life Dew, Helping Hand, Follow Me, Icy Wind, to help give you extra speed control, to help give you redirection. And then there's Amoonguss. Amoonguss kind of does the same thing, but sleep support instead of Friend Guard. So these mons here could help enable Feraligatr set up and sweep. Hopefully, you could always do, if you're worried about like ghost types and stuff, or like Golden Go, for example, you could always do Crunch over Ice Beam. But I think the Ice Punch is, I think the Ice Punch here could be really good for dealing with grass types that might want to come in, like Rillaboom and Amoonguss, for example. So we'll just have to see which one is more worth it. But just a simple setup Dragon Dance for Alligator with some support from Amoonguss and Clefairy, you know? Next up, this isn't really a core. This is just something that I kind of thought about. With the Water Absorb, Ogerpon Wellspring before Terrestrialization is basically immune to water moves, and they heal from it. Now, Primarina's signature move, Sparkling Aria, hits everyone on the field. So if you wanted to try the dual water, you could bring the Sparkling Aria and heal up your Wellspring Ogerpon. Now you also have access to Spiky Shield for protection, Horn Leech for recovery, Swords Dance to start getting boosts, and Ivy Cudgel for that big damage. So I think like this combination could actually do really well if you want to do the Salt Vest Primarina. I know a lot of people are going to be running Throat Spray, and it's kind of risky putting two water type Pokemon next to each other, but water is a decent defensive type. So unless you're dealing with an Iron Hands or a Rillaboom, like you're in a pretty good position. And then there's also things like Ice Beam that will help deal with grass types that want to come in. Hyper Voice is going to be a water attack, so you still have access to a water attack if you don't want to click Sparkling Aria. If you don't have Wellspring on the field with you, you still have that Hyper Voice there. Moonblast for a good fairy type attack, and honestly just put some in defense, max out the HP, and it's got a 126 special attack. Like Primarina is nothing to scoff at, and you can build it really slow if you want to have like a Trick Room mode as well. So this is just like something I thought could be weird, probably more on the gimmicky side. Speaking of gimmicky, we kind of saw it with Eternatus, not Eternatus, Enamorus. We saw it with Enamorus with the contrary ability, but it really didn't go anywhere. Like, and I think that had a lot to do with the rarity of Enamorus, and it was very predictable. You can do the same with Superior. So the only thing that is kind of bad with Superior is that you don't have access to a very wide move pool. So most of the time you're going to be wanting to clicking Leaf Storm. With the contrary ability, you go +2 instead of -2. Glare is really good to paralyze Pokemon, and it is, I think, 100% accurate. I can't see because the Pokemon's illegal, so all the moves are illegal. You can have a Leech Seed for recovery. You probably want to attack an extra move on there. You could do something like Knockoff, I believe it gets. Or we can see what other moves it may get access to once it comes to Scarlet and Violet. That would fit the slot here, and then like Protect. So Leaf Storm to get boost, Glare to para Pokemon, and then you can also do Tornadus or Thundurus. The reason why you want to go Tornadus here is because you really want to focus on those T-Waves and getting a lot of paras to, you know, slow down your opponents. And Scary Face here is going to lower this target by 2. If you hit Superior with it, it's going to increase Superior's speed by 2. So that could be really good for Superior. You can invest less into speed because it has a decent speed already. So you can already hit that like 150 here. and then like invest the rest into bulk, because it has decent bulk, and it just needs to get like the setup going. So I don't know exactly how you would want to spec that out. Maybe go modest. Find the bump. There's the bump. So maybe like something like that, just like build up bulk and, you know, start getting paras with Glare or Wild Bolt Storm. You could do Thunderwave as well. The only reason why I would say Thunderwave is in case you don't want to bring the Superior, but you could always switch out Thunderwave for Protect, for something else. Leer could be good as well. So if you want to do Tornadus, you can go Leer Tornadus. The only bad thing is that like if you're using it on your opponent, like Superior doesn't take advantage of it. So like this would solely be to get defense boost on Superior. So I would say the Thunderwave, just in case like you don't want to bring the Superior, or if you need to attack with the Superior, you can Thunderwave with Tornadus instead. And so getting the Glares and the Thunder Waves off, and maybe some pairs from Wild Bolt Storm, you can bring in Hisuian Arcanine with Rock Slide to start getting flinches, and then like you can set up end games where like Hex Fluttermane like can start popping off there. So that's just something that I thought of. I wanted something a little more than just the click Leaf Storm. Like I wanted to have some more composition to the team. Oh, also on this one, if you don't want to bring the Thundurus for the gimmick, like you could lose the Arcanine for a Landorus, and you know, have the double genies of a balanced metagame. Same thing here with Landorus. Like you can just start clicking Rock Slide, and get those Rock Slide flinches with the combination of Paralysis from Glare or Thunderwave or something like that. Just trying to set up endgames for Fluttermane with Hex or something along these lines to set up and have a good endgame and RNG that's in your favor. Coming down to the end here, and this is something you need to watch out for. I don't know if they're going to keep Skill Swap on Meowstic, but Meowstic Male has access to Prankster. Now, TheoryMons have been pretty good with Covert Cloak, meaning that they don't have to worry about Fake Out anymore, so you can get at least one move off automatically. Once again, Thunderwave for flinches, and Extra Sensory has a chance of flinch, so you could set up a para flinch game here with Meowstic. But Fake Out as well, good Fake Out support. It has access to a lot of moves that can weaken your opponent, whether it's by their defenses or by their attack. So, but the one thing you have to watch out for is skill swap. So you can skill swap Prankster to something like Amoonguss and get Prankster Spores. And you're like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. Like Amoonguss wants Regenerator. You don't know how much of a pain in the butt like a Prankster Spore is until you don't have an answer for it, you know? So the only thing you need to keep in mind if you want to try something like this, if Amoonguss becomes the Prankstermon, Spore will no longer work on Dark type Pokemon. So you're still threatened by those Chen Pals. You're still threatened by those Roaring Moons. So that like you can't put Incineroar to sleep anymore. So that's something you really want to watch out for. But if you do get a situation where you have Prankster Spore going off, you can pivot one of these mons out. After like Amoonguss puts everything asleep, you can switch Amoonguss out, get Regenerator back. Of course, like you on the switch out, you won't get recovery. You'll have to switch back in with Regenerator and then switch back out. But having something like this, especially with double Fake Out and Intimidate support from Incineroar, this could set up something like a Golden Go to set up here. Bulky Golden Go has been really dangerous, especially with that Terra Dragon having great resist all around, whether it's a Steel type or if you want to Terra to a Dragon. So Golden Go has been a threat, and if you could get Golden Go next to a prankster Amoongus and just start sporing things like crazy, you could just set up Golden Go here. You can set up Golden Go to an extreme amount, pivot Amoongus out, bring in Incineroar, like get those Intimidates off. And honestly, something like this, like you probably could just, you know, tack on a Tornadus Urshifu and you're good. You could try that out. That's a lot of support though. Like you would solely be relying on Golden Go and Urshifu to like win the game with 2 support mons. So it's just a starting idea. The last one, I've brought up a lot of good starting points. So I want to know which one you liked in the comments down below. But there are some other mons that I thought were interesting that could be used in different ways. The first 3 is Bastardon, Sinistcha, and Reuniclus. Bastardon has insane defenses, so it could be a really good Trick Room mon. It's still slower than Torkoal, but if you go like Terra Rock, you're gonna resist any fire type move Torkoal is gonna do. It's still gonna do a lot of damage, but with such a high special defense, you should be good. Bastardon also gets access to Wide Guard, so Wide Guard could be really good here. And Heavy Slam, it's not as heavy as Heatran, it's not as heavy as Iron Hands, but it does get access to Heavy Slam. If you don't want to do that, you can just do Iron Head, for example. But honestly, like we'll have to look because it's been a while. I don't think this mon has came to a mainline game yet. It's been in Legends Arceus, but it wasn't in Sword and Shield. So we'll have to see if it gets access to Body Press, because if it does get access to Body Press here, you can basically run it like a Como and Trick Room, where you have the Iron Defense, Body Press, and then like Iron Head and Protect with leftovers, except it has like really good bulk to begin with. It won't need a lot of Iron defenses to do really good damage there. Sinistcha would be really good for Trick Room and Recovery. Reuniclus could have really good potential as a coverage mon with Energy Ball to hit those water types that want to threaten Bastardon. You know, Focus Blast, Shadow Ball, Psychic. These are all moves that you can put on. It has Magic Guard, so it can't take damage from Sand. It can't take damage from Burn. It can't take damage from Life Orb. So you can get a lot of benefits from Reuniclus there. And it also gets access to Trick Room. So you wouldn't have all of these moves on it. You would put Trick Room and probably Protect somewhere on here as well. Smeargle, we all know what Smeargle does. It does everything. It does everything well. The one thing you do have to worry about though is that it does have access to Fake Out. It can learn Spore. And another thing we have to think about here is that it no longer just gets like King Shield. It no longer gets just Detect or Protect. Like you also have access to Spiky Shield. Spiky Shield can do damage if the Pokemon attack into it, so that could be really good for Chip. And you also get Silk Trap. You can get Silk Trap, which would lower the speed of a Pokemon from Spidops here. So you could have those 3 moves, and then honestly, like just Focus Sash. And you could go Endeavor or Endure and just keep it around forever, you know? Something like that. Like Smeargle has a lot of good moves. If you want to get like a lot of Moody boost here, you could also run something like Power Trip. Power Trip increases power every time you have a stat boost or something like that. There's stored power as well. So most of the time, most Smeargle will go like this. And just go like really fast. It doesn't have defenses, so it's gonna be the Focus Sash Pokemon. I don't know. I've never used Smeargle well. I haven't played in a Smeargle format yet as like a serious like VGC player. So we'll have to see how that goes. I didn't play it that much. I didn't use it in BDSP. BDSP died too fast. I was working on it, but Metagross can tear away its weaknesses now, but is it going to be good without Dynamax? Now, you could run something like Bulldoze next to the Metagross and drop speed. With the Clear Body ability, you ignore the speed drops. It is enough to activate Weakness Policy. It's a super effective move. But we really haven't seen Weakness Policy be used too much now that Dynamax is over. It was a much better risk when you used to be able to like just double your HP. There was more reward and less risk with Dynamax. Now that Dynamax is gone, like I don't know if it's still going to be used. So we'll have to see what Metagross chooses to tack on. It could go AV for moves. I don't know. Metagross is going to be good though, so this is another mon you have to keep an eye on. And we're getting a lot of support mons between like the Smeargle, the Meowsticks, Alcremie though. Alcremie is not going to be good. So what really made Alcremie good was Decorate, which is a move that will increase the attack and special attack on whatever mon you use it on. So it does help set up other Pokemon. But a lot of people were using its Gigantamax form with G-Max Finale, which would help heal your Pokemon as well. So it doesn't have access to that anymore. So it really can only help opponents with the Decorate. It has Dazzling Gleam, it has Helping Hand, but other than that, it really doesn't do much. It has a bunch of stat dropping status moves, but I don't think Alcremie is going to be that good. Now, it is a special wall, but other than Fluttermane and Heatran, like this metagame so far has been leaning very physical, so I don't see it doing all too well. It does have a little bit of a niche with Sweet Veil, so basically Amoonguss and Other Sleep is invalidated when Sleep Veil is up, but to run an Alcremie just to stop sleep, I feel like there are other ways to do it. There's like the safety goggles now. You can tear into a grass type. I don't think Alcremie is going to get used as much. But these are mons that I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't think of like a good team comp for them. I think Bastiodon will be interesting. I'll have to see if it gets body press. It's definitely a Trick Room threat, right? But anyways, that is some starting points. That is something to get the gears turning up here for when the Indigo Disc drops. Let me know what you guys think about these in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. But that is going to be all. Till next time, I'm Zach. We'll see everyone later.